So the process for performing migrations is a multi-step process, just like the upgrade process. First, we are going to want to back up the hard drive. That's an optional part of this process. You don't necessarily have to, just like with upgrades. That's basically just if something fails, you want to be able to restore. A good complete PC image type of backup is a really good backup to have. Then we would want to capture the user state data. Now here we have a change in Windows 10. And I'm not sure why. I really don't get this. I heard back in Windows 8.1 that they were deprecating or that Easy Transfer was deprecated, and when it's deprecated, that usually means that the next version, it's no longer going to be there. And I honestly was scratching my head. Easy Transfer is the evolution of the file and settings transfer wizard way back in Windows XP. Starting with Windows Vista, you had Windows Easy Transfer. That continued in Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1. It was a great utility. It was super easy to use. Users could use it for one-to-one migrations. If they got a new computer, they could copy their data over using a wizard, selecting what they wanted, using removable media or copying over the network. Again, it was super easy. It had a purpose, and I'm not sure why they got rid of it. I do know that they have partnered with another company, and there is a program called PC Mover Express that you can use to copy user data in a one-to-one scenario. But Easy Transfer does not exist in Windows 10, so don't be fooled if you happen to see that on an exam question. User State Migration Tool, USMT, that's a part of the Windows ADK, and that is used to transfer profile data for multiple computers. So I'm going to back up the system, I'm going to capture the user state data, then I'm going to clean install Windows 10. Following that, we would reinstall applications, probably want to do Windows updates at that point as well, and then we would restore the user state data. So now let's take a little bit more detailed look at those migration tools. As I said, Easy Transfer is no longer available, but Microsoft has partnered with LapLink, a company, to provide a free utility called PC Mover Express that helps you move data and applications seamlessly. When I say applications, I'm meaning the settings. And the ability to upgrade from multiple operating systems appears to be the reason for this change. That's the only thing that I can come up with. I said I just had said I don't know why. I've never seen it in writing, but that seems to me to be a plausible reason, because you really had to have Easy Transfer previously, because to get upgraded to Windows 8, you had to be coming from Windows 7. To get upgraded to Windows 7, you had to be coming from Vista. You couldn't come from XP. You can't go from XP directly to Windows 8. You couldn't go from Vista to Windows 8 or 8.1. So they had all these restrictions on the upgrades, and so therefore they had to have these migration tools. Well, now they've opened it up. It's very rare these days that you still run into somebody with Vista on a computer. So the vast majority of us, even those who hung out on XP for a while, had gotten up to Windows 7. So because you can go from 7, 8, and 8.1 directly to 10 and keep all of your stuff, that appears to be a plausible reason why they got rid of this utility. Okay? So if you don't find yourself in that situation, you want to do a migration, then you can use the PC Mover Express utility. The user state migration as a part of the Windows Assessment and Deployment Kit is a scriptable command line tool. This is highly customizable, but it is intended for use by IT personnel in larger deployment scenarios. It technically consists of two different utilities, scan state and load state. Scan state is going to scan the current system and identify the information, the data that's going to be migrated. Load state is in turn going to load that profile onto the new system once Windows 10 has been installed. This configuration is done through what are called config and migration XML files. Essentially, the config XML files state the types of data, application settings, personal data, etc., that are going to be copied, and then the migration XML files can include and exclude certain file types within those particular categories. Extensive help is found in the Windows ADK as a part of the user state migration tool. You do have the option for a hard link migration store, which is an intermediate store that is on the local machine. Okay, so as opposed to copying the information off the local machine to the network, wiping, clean installing, and then copying it back down, there are methods to leave the user profiles on the actual system that you are dealing with. So spend a little bit more time with USMT when we talk more about user profiles later and when we get into some of the enterprise level deployment scenarios. So what happens if the upgrade fails? Well, if it fails in process, then Windows 10 is going to revert to the previous operating system automatically. It's possible that the upgrade doesn't fail, but that the user is wanting to revert. I've already received 2 of those calls in the last month. Someone else, not myself, suggested that the individual upgrade to Windows 10, and in one case they just had a printer issue, in another case they just didn't know how to handle the upgrade. They needed some training, but in both cases, if it's desirable, it is very easy to revert back. You have the option to revert back for 1 month. Microsoft will make that available. It's in the System app. You can see it here. It will just simply state go back to, and then whatever version of operating system you came from to get to Windows 10. All right, so here we're going to just check on the status of our upgrade, and it looks like we're done. We're just going to use some Express settings, and that's going to finalize things for us. And so it's going to go into our little introductory process as it's logging in for the first time. So it looks like the upgrade was successful. We'll let that go ahead and complete. I just want to go in and show you how to verify and then the option to revert. All right, so now we are logged in. Looks like everything is good. Probably one of the first things to do would be to go into settings and not system. Settings, systems, and then get into your updates, and there are going to be some updates. Looks like it's already downloading the updates for me. So there's several updates already. So we'll let that continue. If I was doing an upgrade, a real upgrade, then I would certainly want to go into all apps, check my applications. I didn't really have anything installed here, so this was just really more for sample purposes, but you would definitely want to do that. So let's go back to System and go to Recovery. This is where you're going to have this option to go back to Windows 7, okay? Available for a month after you upgrade. Just show you what that looks like, all right? It really was very easy to do. Okay? Did ask you why are you going back, and so you can say my apps or devices don't work, or another reason, or it's just easier, faster, those kinds of things. Okay, so we'll say that my apps or devices don't work. This may take a while. You're not going to be able to use your PC till it's done. And they state that you'll have to reinstall some programs. You'll lose any changes made to settings. They suggest that you back up your files. I have not experienced the need to reinstall any programs. I can only surmise that the only time that you would have to do that is if you had installed programs after the upgrade to Windows 10, So that's the only time I'd have to reinstall. The same thing with changes. That's the only time I'd have to restore those changes is if I had made those changes since I had done the upgrade, because this is going to go back to the previous version. I need to know the password. And then we just get a kind of a final thing, and do I want to go back to Windows 7? I click go back to Windows 7, and then it's going to go and perform that operation for me. Okay, and so we'll see this is in a Hyper-V virtual machine, so it kind of the screen changed there a little bit on me, but that system is restarting. It will now go back to Windows 7. If you had Windows 8, it'll go back to that. And so they did make it very easy to revert. And in some cases, you're just dealing maybe with an older person. That was one of my situations, an older person who just didn't need to mess with anything new. And she had a guy, an IT guy, that told her, that suggested that she should upgrade to Windows 10, which, you know, that's something that personally I wouldn't have suggested. Not because I don't like Windows 10, but just because of the age of this person. She's set in her ways and knows how to use Windows 7. So, and then on top of that, there was a printer or some piece of software that went with a printer that was very important for their business that wasn't working. So we did a revert. Right? So there's always that way to go back, and Microsoft has made it fairly easy to do so. All right, so that wraps up kind of our look at the other couple of ways to get into Windows 10 from previous versions of the operating system. And those ways are the upgrade, in which you retain all your apps and settings, or the migration, in which you clean, install, and then selectively migrate applications and data.